Hello everyone, my name's Tomato Anus. Today is February 8th, 2024, and this is the February 2024 Speedrun Explain Retrospective. This is where I watch an old video of mine and I talk about what I think it does well, what I think it doesn't do well, and I take a bunch of notes in the process. I write them all down, pros and cons of the video, just trying to figure out how to make better videos today by watching old videos of mine. If you're watching this in 2025, wow, that's a year that's going to exist. If you're watching this in February of 2025 on the Tomato Angus channel, you could have watched it a whole year earlier by going to patreon.com/tomatoanus, joining at the $6 tier and up, if that's how it's still structured. But yeah, if you want, you can go there, get caught up on all of these from the past year, all the ones you've been missing out on, and keep up with them as they come out. I think that's about all for the typical run-in that I do on these. So let's get to what we're talking about today. Today, we're going over my Speedrun Explained. Of course, the second that I start doing this, I'm getting a call from my dog's vet. All right, the dog's heartworm and tick stuff came back all negative, all good. What are we doing today? We're going over the speedrun to be a pirate in Fallout 4. This is the last of the videos I made. The last of the Speedrun Explains, I should say, since we do have Memory Den up next. The last Speedrun Explained I made regarding the Fallout series before I started reaching out to other runners and making videos covering other games. So finally about to enter an era of new videos, different types of videos, what I've been waiting for this whole time. Super excited to start making my way through all of these. But first, we have to go through Speedrun to be a pirate in Fallout 4. This video was released July 13th, 2019. You guys can't see it when I do that. July 13th, 2019. Trying to think about the background for this video. This was a video... This speedrun was one, like I say in the description, it was a brand new category. I personally don't remember it being joked around about for a while. I guess that's just out of my memory at this point. But yeah, this run, I remember this run not being great. Not in terms of the quality or speed of the run. I mean, I only did runs of this category for a few days, so I'm sure the quality of the run isn't the best. Also, I'm not even sure if this is world record still. I'm going to have to check real quick to make sure I don't have to update my title. It's not world record. As of 2 years, it's not world record. Let me edit this video real quick and change it so that the title doesn't say world record anymore. Whoops. Sorry, elongated musket gun. So as for the background production on this video, I don't remember, I truly don't remember a whole lot. This is one of those ones where, similar to what I talked about in the previous retrospectives with like the Mama Murphy run, Sleep with Everyone, these, I'm pretty sure both of these, maybe just the Mama Murphy one, they were being made as I worked on the anthology video. And same goes with the Pirate one and maybe the New Vegas one with the Speed Cucked video. The Speed Cucked video, I remember I had done and ready at the end of July. It could have honestly been done by now at this July 13th date. But it got delayed. When did this release? Sometime in August. This got delayed start of August because of sponsor stuff. It just took a while for Nord to approve it. So I worked on other stuff. This was right before I went to ESA 2019. I really do not remember a whole lot behind the scenes on this. I remember one joke in the video. I'll try and remember to point it out. It's the Florida man joke. In case so that I won't, now I can't forget because I already told you. I remember really liking that joke, but I also remember while I was working on the video, kind of struggling to come up with jokes. I felt like it was a video that was a bit more dry than others. Who knows? You know, it's always really hard when I'm making these videos to be able to gauge where it falls on the spectrum of very serious to funny, because you know sometimes I just like I'll say something really random, like for example someone posted something somewhere and tagged me in it about my Tony Hawk Underground video where I made a joke like, oh, we magazines don't have bones in them, so we do boneless tricks for the magazine. And I'm just like, in my mind, that's not really much of a joke, but this person was like, oh, I was dying laughing at that. So, you know, it's hard to say what people will find funny, how much humor people will find in things. So, who knows? Who knows where this is actually going to end up? Trying to think of other things. Thumbnail. I don't like this thumbnail. I need to change it, honestly, because this is not my art. I'm going to change it. Let me add that to my to-do list. Change pirate thumbnail. I don't know why I use someone's art and put it in front of a sunburst background like this. I don't like that I did. I need to change this. I'll probably do that in the next week or so. I think the thumbnail's fine as is. I think it doesn't, I don't know, there's not much depth to it. The background really blends in with the Ironsides art. Trying to think of other things. I remember routing. I actually do remember routing this category, and I remember it being really RNG heavy and not really liking the runs of it because it's all about whether or not you get good weapon drops and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I don't really think there was. I guess that's about it. I guess we can freaking get into it. Let me swap to myself down here. Yeah, let's freaking see how this is. Links to videos with audio from stream and game only audio are in the description. I like right away. I'm pausing 5 seconds in. I do like that was, you know, time wasn't taken out of the commentary to do that. I do like that. I don't like that the first 5 seconds of the video are that. What I've really been striving to do in the past few videos, probably past 6 months or so, is try and include that not as something, not as a line in the video, but more as a like a visual popping on screen, have it popping on top of the screen, you know. I've been really enjoying that because I can throw it kind of later, and I don't want to get too in the weeds of why I place it where I place it and whatnot. But I do like the text, but I don't like having it. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of cards up front in front of videos. I feel like it's very easy to fall into the trap of self-aggrandizing your videos. I try to avoid that. You know, I'm not making high art over here, you know. And that's not it. I'm not saying that as a slight towards other YouTubers or anyone who does do title cards, or I mean, I did a title card in my next Speedrun Explained, you know, but like and in my next, not Speedrun Explained, my Speedcucked video. And in the Speedcucked video, I'm pretty sure it has the sponsored by NordVPN thing right at the front, which I wasn't even required to do that. I just did it because I saw other people doing it. I'm like, oh, this is what you do. You know, this makes it seem like a professional video when it's not the case. It's unnecessary. I think that very rarely do you want to have something like that up front. I don't know. Again, getting too in the weeds.
Hey guys, my name's Tomato Anus.
I need to fix my captions. For some reason, they are dull. Font opacity. Why is that not 100? There we go. Also known as Dongus Minimus, and this is a speedrun to become a pirate in Fallout 4. Now, while you can't physically become a pirate in the game, there is a quest titled The Last Voyage of the USS Constitution, wherein you help some NPCs get their frigate running again. This is a speedrun of that quest. You'll notice right away that instead of starting the game from the beginning, we began the game by loading a save. This is because this is a newer category, and us runners didn't want to have to do the full intro if the category is as much of a joke as this one. Just because this category is a meme though, doesn't mean that it isn't very technically involved. The run starts off... Okay, so I'll talk to the timing. I mean, as always, the thing I harp on the most is the syncing of the commentary to the gameplay. Something that I did do there though, that I like if I were making this now, I probably would have just had that over the main menu. Or main menu and then just the very, very, very start. Something I do like though that I did there was I credited the run like immediately. I didn't, it's very something that I'm aware of and I try to be aware of is it's very easy for people to dismiss or write off a game or a speedrun. I think this was probably more of a thing in 2019 and earlier than it is now, 5 years later. But I feel like, at least back in the day, there was a lot, and you see this a lot with like Battle for Bikini Bottom. People will immediately write it off as a speedrun. Casual viewers will immediately write it off as a speedrun because they'll be like, oh, this is a kid's game, Oh, this is a meme run. Oh, this is a whatever not serious thing. There's no way it could be a good speedrun. There's no way it could have anything interesting in it as a speedrun. And that's pretty close-minded. Just because a topic matters, just because a subject matter or a goal of a speedrun is funny or goofy or not, it's not a serious game or anything like that. It's not a gritty game. It's not a game with an edge to it. Doesn't mean it can't be a good speedrun, It's anything can be a good speedrun, It's bad games can be a good speedrun. Good games can be a bad speedrun. So I do like that right away. I kind of nipped in the bud. Hey, just because this is a meme run doesn't mean that there isn't going to be stuff that goes down in this that's pretty technical. So I did like that. I do like the crediting of the run right up front. Doing typical VLC clips and setting up a punch warp which will teleport us across the map, followed by some new funky out-of-bounds stuff that's new to the vault segment of Fallout 4. I'll explain this out-of-bounds stuff in a moment, but for now just know that it effectively skips having to wait for the elevator and riding it up, which saves about 30 to 40 seconds. When we exit the vault, we're immediately going to run down to Sanctuary and trigger our punch warp, which will send us to the center of the map by Green Tech Genetics. Okay, right away, like I said, like I've talked about ad nauseum with these, I don't like what just happened. I don't like that. I liked that, you can see a progression here. Before, in earlier videos than this, I would have probably tried to explain it in the moment or just put it entirely off and like, I'm going to run outside and I'm going to do a clip thing and then skip the elevator and then I'm going to go to Sanctuary and punch warp, which will send us to the center of the map by Green Tech Genetics. And at least this time I gave a little more context to what's going on. At least this time I was like, I'm going to do a funky out of bounds thing that skips the elevator and saves this much time. Skips having to wait for the elevator and riding it up, which will save around 30 to 40 seconds. Good. Like, I think that there's a balance to be had with, I guess less a balance. Balance makes it sound like trying to balance explaining things in time. What I'm trying to say is it's better when explaining something. I think it's good to explain, and it's a case-by-case basis. I sometimes do this in my videos now, but it really just depends on how I feel better conveys what's going on, what is more understandable to the viewer. And I like sometimes right away saying, hey, the end objective, the end goal of this skip, the result is this. Here's how it works. Sometimes that works better. Sometimes it's better to kind of like build up to what the end result is. I think, again, it's just a case-by-case basement. It's a judgment call. It depends on how the information flows. But I do like that I said that right away. I was like, hey, I'm going to explain this in a second. Here's the result. I like that. I don't like how I know that the actual explanation is going to be coming 10 seconds after I did it. And it's just like, oh, great. Okay, so I would have to rewind to go see it, you know? Or throw footage on screen to show it after it had passed. So, not great. Not great. You can see a step in the right direction there. I think, at least. But not great.
Sanctuary and trigger our punch warp, which will send us to the center of the map by Green Tech Genetics.
Also, let me go back. I know I talked about what the category is, but I feel like I should have done a little bit more description of that. Let me see this description again.
Now, while you can't physically become a pirate in the game, there is a quest titled The Last Voyage of the USS Constitution, wherein you help some NPCs get their frigate running again. This is a speedrun of that quest. You'll notice...
Okay. I guess that works. I wish I would have given a little more flavor to that. You know, given a little more explanation as to what the quest is, what it has to do with being a pirate. Meme it up a little bit, you know? Put a bit more personality on that. It was very cut and dry. That was a very cut and dry explanation. Totally could have been like, yo, there's this quest called USS Constitution. There's a bunch of robots who think that they're frigateers. Is that the word? I don't know. They think they're in a frigate. They think they're old-timey guys. They're on a ship that can fly. And we're going to help them and consider that becoming a pirate, you know? Like, just that. Couple sentences, throw it in there, adds a little more personality to what the run is. Just in general, I feel like that could have been fleshed out a bit better.
Tech Genetics. Once we land, we're going to quick save and quit to the main menu, followed by loading that save again. This will give us our Pip-Boy since we skipped grabbing it in the vault. If you skip the Pip-Boy in the vault and somehow are able to exit the vault, the Pip-Boy is automatically given to you upon exiting. The issue is that the Pip-Boy will be invisible until you either enter power armor or quit to the main menu, which is what we do in this run to make it visible. Until you
this is so close to being great. This explanation right here. Again, I don't think this whole part is great. That whole COC2 thing should have been explained in the vault before the run, whenever, before it's being done, as it's being done. But this part is so close to being great. I love explaining something while it's on screen. And there's kind of like two parts to the explanation and the visuals, you know? This is such a good example of it because you're right here. I'm talking about the Pip-Boy and how the game automatically gives it to you if you exit the vault without getting the Pip-Boy, without picking it up. The game gives it to you, but it's invisible. And this right here, this visual on screen is so perfect because you start, you know, this cutscene starts, you're doing this, like you're watching what's going on. And you're listening to the lines. And before a certain point, you're like, you don't think about what's on screen as relating to what's being said. And then you're like, if you skip it, it gives you the Pip-Boy, but it's invisible. So we need to make it visible again. And then you see, oh shit, you're right. There is no Pip-Boy on the arm, you know? And then suddenly what you're looking at has different meaning. You know, it's one of those it's one of those things where it's I don't know if there's a word for it. It's just added meaning to what you're watching once you learn something. And it's so close to being good because I'm explaining it, but the line that like kind of hits home at like the Pip-Boy is invisible is after I put my arm down.
At the vault, the Pip-Boy is automatically given to you upon exiting. The issue is that the Pip-Boy will be invisible until you either enter power armor or quit to the main menu, which is what we do in this run to make it visible.
Like if that line 10 seconds earlier, or just reword this slightly. This was really wordy. You could 100% reword this in a way where all of the same information is given, just slightly more concise, not as laid out, but still it gets the point across. I could just be like,
followed by loading that save again. This
followed by loading that save again. We do this because we skipped grabbing the Pip-Boy in the vault, but the game still gives it to you if you do that, except it's invisible. And quitting out, saving, and loading makes your Pip-Boy visible again. That's like, reword that a bit, refine that a little bit. That's 2 lines instead of like 4 lines here that go on too long. Really close to being a great, I guess, pairing, harmonious moment of commentary working well with the gameplay on screen. Really close.
Pip-Boy, since we skipped grabbing it in the vault. If you skip the Pip-Boy in the vault and somehow are able to exit the vault, the Pip-Boy is automatically given to you upon exiting. The issue is that the Pip-Boy will be invisible until you either enter power armor or quit to the main menu, which is what we do in this run to make it visible. After we get our Pip-Boy back, we're going to run across Boston towards the Harbor, which is where the USS Constitution is located.
That's good. Harbor. Said harbor, quote, said in Bostonian accent. That's that's a good joke. I used to include more jokes, and there weren't many, but I did used to do it, as you can see right here. Some jokes in just the subtitles. Just the captions, and that's a good one. Using the captions as medium for jokes is good.
Along the way, we'll pick up a few frag mines for punch warping. Now that we have that out of the way, it's time to explain how we skipped the elevator in the vault, which is the phenomenon that we refer to as COC2.
I like referring to a glitch as a phenomenon. That's fun.
COC is a mechanic in the creation engine that stands for Center on Cell. If you're unaware, cell is the word for the individual areas in the game. Vault 111 is a cell, the Institute is a cell, Fort Hagen is a cell. Every individual location you can enter is a cell. Even the Wasteland is a cell, albeit one that's set up a bit differently than the others, but we'll get to that in a bit. If you fall out of bounds in the game, it would be pretty unideal to fall forever into the void. To avoid this, Bethesda put a safeguard into place that we refer to as the COC plane.
Alright, again, like I've talked about ad nauseum, this should not be being explained a minute and a half after it was done. It would be far more interesting to talk about this beforehand so the viewer has an understanding of it when it's done and a greater appreciation for it. And then you can spend this time, you can spend this time when I'm running talking about like either another upcoming thing, or alternatively, what I would probably do now is talk about smaller things. Like I'm trying to take the shortest path possible. So you notice I'm running at corners.
Avoid this in the game,
I run at corners to take a straight line to where I need to turn next because I want to take the shortest line possible. And that's like a big thing in speedruns. You always want to take the shortest line, shortest line possible, less time traveled. So I'm trying to aim straight for the corner where I need to turn next. So I'm not zigzagging in any way. I'm not taking any unnecessary curvature to my path. Straight lines.
than the others, but
I think that would be a bit interesting to talk
we'll
about
get to
here.
that in a bit. If you fall out of bounds in the game, it would be pretty unideal to fall forever into the void. To avoid this, Bethesda put a safeguard into place that we refer to as the COC plane.
And then I could also talk about, like, you'll notice that I might, like, kind of wiggle at times. That's mostly just to avoid getting stuck on specific parts of the ground, specific things in the environment. Like that car, I kind of angled when I was running up it.
This Bethesda put a safeguard unideal to fall.
I kind of angled to the right here. And that's strictly to better navigate the terrain of the car, because if I went straight, I would be bumping into it and I would lose my walk. I would have to turn more, you know.
Avoid this, Bethesda put a safeguard into place that we refer to as the COC plane. The COC plane is an invisible plane that spans horizontally underneath each cell. If the player
it's talking about my AP management
falls out of bounds, the moment they hit the COC plane, they'll then get teleported to either a predetermined location in the cell or the location directly above where they are falling. But only if there is solid ground above the spot where they hit the COC plane. The thing about the COC plane though is that there is actually an edge to it, making it possible to be far enough out of bounds that we can miss the plane and continue falling. Luckily, your fall would be finite, as you'd eventually hit the floor of the out of bounds of the cell, which is what we refer to as COC2.
This is reminding me a lot of that New Vegas video I covered 2 months ago, where I did a glitch, I did infinite dash, and then I spent the rest of the video explaining infinite dash.
If you hit this floor, you will then seemingly get wrapped to the top of the cell / playable area in the cell, although it doesn't always behave exactly that way. Fortunately, it does behave this way if you fall outside of the COC plane in the vault, and then turn around and fall back underneath the map, but below the COC plane. This will cause for you to fall until you hit the cell floor, and get upwarped to the top of the playable area directly above you, instead of just the solid ground above you. It turns out that the load zone to exit the vault is at the top of the elevator, so if we COC2 beneath the elevator, we will automatically hit the load zone and exit the vault. This fall to COC2 is typically very long, but it can be short.
I have no clue what's going on here in terms of the route. I really wish that I had focused more on the route. You know, everything I just talked about. I don't remember. I mean, I would have no clue why I'm picking up the frag grenades. I would have no clue why I turned down that alley. I would have no clue why I'm dropping the vault suit right now if I didn't already know. If I didn't already know the route.
Shortened and skipped if you quick save and quick load, which is what we do in the vault to skip the full fall. Once we finally arrive at the USS Constitution, we do our best.
That was a really bad transition. Like, yeah, okay, maybe the viewer can see, oh, there's the USS Constitution, but especially because of the fact that I didn't really talk about what the category was at the start, they might not necessarily know what the USS Constitution looks like. I should have talked about it. You see that big ship in the distance? That's the USS Constitution. Now I'm turning off the main road here to go grab some frag mines because I'm going to need them in a bit for combat, because it's a combat heavy run, and then I'm gonna do the Florida man impression.
The elevator, the vault. This fall to COC2 is typically very long.
Sorry. Excuse me again. So getting back to what I just said, like that being a bad transition, we go from this COC2 explanation. Notice how I go from this COC2 explanation straight into so at the USS Constitution, I take off my clothes at the USS Constitution. It's hard to tell that I'm kind of changing subjects. It's hard to tell that I'm changing from talking about COC2 to talking about what I'm doing in this exact moment. You know, the viewer sits there and is watching, and they're like, okay, even if they're following COC2 and they're actively engaged, and they're like, oh, okay, so that is what happened. Interesting. And then it's like we then take off at the USS Constitution, we then take off our clothes and we do our Florida man impression. And rather than the viewer instantly recognizing that what is being said is what's happening and realizing, oh, we changed subjects, the viewer's going to be like, okay, this relates to COC2. How? Oh, okay, no, we're just on to the next part. Oh, okay. So then it's a little game of catch up. Even if it's like a second of processing, half second of them processing, it puts them behind. They would have to rewind, which I want to try to avoid, you know.
Load zone and
So
exit the
pay
vault.
attention to that. How we change subjects so abruptly here without notice.
This fall to COC2 is typically very long, but it can be shortened and skipped if you quick save and quick load, which is what we do in the vault to skip the full fall. Once we finally arrive at the USS Constitution, we do our best Florida Man impersonation and take off all of our clothes, followed by scaling the side of the building to our destination. Once we make it above deck, we speak with the legend himself, Ironsides, who will give us the quest Last Voyage of the USS Constitution.
No explanation of prop climbing or anything.
We then trigger the cannons to help in the defense from a scavenger attack, and then fast travel away to Vault 111. When we arrive at the vault, we're going to start running west to a specific tree where we're going to set up a punch warp. We're then going to follow that by fast traveling to Green Tech Genetics and triggering the punch warp, but we're going to do something different after we trigger it. This isn't going to be any ordinary punch warp. This is what's called a punch warp interrupt. Do you remember how when I was talking about cells, I mentioned how the Wasteland is a cell, but it's a bit different than the other ones? Well, normally when you enter a cell, the whole cell is loaded. Naturally, a loading screen to enter the Wasteland would take ages if you had to load it all at once every time you entered it. Instead of loading the full Wasteland, the game loads a small section of the Wasteland depending on your location. These small sections are what we refer to as chunks. Chunks are predetermined sections in the game. Imagine the map were divided into a big grid. Each square is a chunk. The game only loads chunks that you are in and or near. When you punch warp across the map from one chunk to another, the game kinda has a panic attack. This is what happens when we set up our punch warp in the far northwest corner of the map and trigger it in the center of the map. Instead of just loading us in at the destination, the game will load the final chunk of your destination, but then for some reason, have you load the chunks along the path of the direction you're punch warping in. If you mash M to pull up your Pip-Boy map while this is happening, you can actually interrupt your punch warp across the map and leave you in the location of one of the chunks that you were loading along the way. Sometimes though, the game's memory will have certain chunks.
I guess I misremembered. I guess the frag mines were for punch warp interrupt. I forgot that punch warp interrupt was in this run. I think that the explanation of this honestly hasn't been bad. I think the timing on it's been pretty good. Like I've talked about before, it'd be really nice to have some visuals. Same goes with the COC2 explanations. Visuals would be nice. It's crazy that this video came out July 13th, 2019. And if you go just like a year past this, a year in the future, and look at my video I released in August of explaining the Fallout 4 any percent run, it's incredible the production value shift in just that year. Like it's really, it was from like the March of 2020 whenever I released the Mirror's Edge video, which I'll talk about it when we get to it. The Mirror's Edge video to me is when things shifted in terms of production. And again, I'll talk about that later, but it's crazy to think how underproduced this is compared to a video that came out just 13 months after covering a similar topic. It's also interesting the lack of explanations about punch warps. Since I was mostly a Fallout speedrun channel, I definitely avoided explaining the same thing in every video. So I get it. Same with prop climbing. I get it. I guess I'm kind of approaching these now more from a one-off standpoint where it's like, you know, any given video. Excuse me. I'm yawning so much even though I'm not tired. Even though a video, like I try and treat it these days as any video I make might be someone's first video watching on my channel, you know? And especially because of the fact that I'm covering a lot of different runs now, it doesn't really, it's hard to put myself back in the mind space of, hey, my viewers who watch all my videos, who I'm making these videos for, they're watching all of these. They don't need this explanation every time, but it's different now. It's very different. The landscape around my channel is super, super different. So it's interesting.
Loaded, which throws off the punch warp interrupt, so we have to perform it twice for it to work, which is what happened in this run.
Whoa, what?
So to pull up your Pip-Boy map
I don't remember
while this
this.
is happening, you can actually interrupt your punch warp across the map and leave you in the location of one of the chunks that you were loading along the way. Sometimes though, the game's memory will have certain chunks loaded which throws off the punch warp interrupt, so we have to perform it twice for it to work, which is what happened in this run. When this punch warp interrupt is successfully performed, it will cause for us to load in at the Corvega assembly plant.
Just really clunky wording on this. When this punch warp interrupt is successfully performed, it will cause for us to load in. When the punch warp interrupt works, you load in at Corvega.
Successfully performed, it will cause for us to load in at the Corvega assembly plant. If you're familiar with the USS Constitution quest, you'll know that we have to repair the ship in order to help Ironsides and company return the ship to the Atlantic Ocean. The final item we need to repair the ship are FLL3 turbo pump bearings, which spawn inside of the assembly plant. By getting the bearings right away, and then repairing the ship with them right away, we can sequence break the quest to completion almost immediately. Upon entering the plant, we load a save we made at Green Tech and then set up a punch warp in a nearby location. When we trigger this punch warp inside of Corvega, we'll be teleported next to the chest that contains the bearings. After grabbing them, we'll then run to a nearby exit and fast travel back to the USS Constitution.
All right, I think I like how there was a pretty solid to follow explanation there, followed by the gameplay just going through. I do like that. I think it works. I think that some things maybe could have been explained a little more, like the enemy's not attacking me right away. I don't know what the deal was there. I don't remember if their AI is just turned off because of triggers you hit, or if they just take a moment to realize you're there. Regardless, I think that should have been talked about. I cannot stop yawning. But I do like how this played out. The explanation followed by watching. I think that was good. I think this was good. Loading screens could have been trimmed down for sure, but generally good. And could have like good, but also could have done with like either a list that comes out that gets checked off as things are done, or while this is happening, I say lines along the way of here we are getting the bearings, here we are doing the punch warp, here we are doing this that I just talked about. In the Half-Life 2 video I'm working on right now, there's a pretty big pause section I wrote in the past few days where I explain a lot. I explain a lot in it. Not like a ridiculous amount like Portal, but like, it's probably going to be like a 2 to 3 minute pause section. And then a large chunk of gameplay goes by. And I could just leave that large chunk of gameplay without commentary. But in this script, as it's written right now, there are lines like, and here's I'm doing this thing that I just talked about. And remember, next we need to do this. There's all those reminders along the way. That's what I'm trying to do more now. Again, trim the loading screens, especially if no commentary is happening. Maybe explain that the fact that I was able to fast travel while inside there because I'm actually in the wasteland in the building and not just inside, despite it looking like I was inside. Lots of loading screen here, man. Lots of loading
back
screen.
at the ship, we'll ride a dingy elevator back above deck. We don't really have any weapons right now for an upcoming fight, so we need to do some looting. We're going to do all of our looting when we go below deck to install the bearings. In order to install the bearings, we need to get behind a locked door. Luckily, there's a window nearby. Attempting to melee attack an object in vats on the other side allows for us to contort to the size of a lunchbox and squeeze through the gaps in the window. Bethesda. We
Funny.
then do some
It's
looting
funny.
and use our handy robot assistant to perform this window magic trick one more time. When looting the military crates below deck, we're looking for weapons that use different ammo types to be able to fully take advantage of all the different kinds of ammo we're looting. We only ended up being able to utilize 2 of the ammo types, but we got super lucky with finding a quick hair trigger sniper rifle. This is great because it allows for us to pick off the scavengers with great accuracy and precision. Or at least great accuracy and precision by my standards. Our goal is to be sure to pick off the scavengers before they ever get close to the ship, because if any get inside, the quest becomes a total reliance on the competency of the AI, which, I mean, come on, it's Fallout 4 AI. We want to avoid that at all costs.
I think that line, that explanation generally works. I think it could have been worded just a little better. It feels a bit not punching down because you can't punch down on a AAA video game like this. But you know, barring, I don't know. It just feels a little mean spirited, which I don't like. Little bit, not as much. It's not as mean spirited as it could be. It's not as mean-spirited as some speedrunners are towards the games they run. It's probably not even... It's still like, I don't know. It's mean-spirited because I'm just straight up saying it. The like the Starfield video I made more recently. Like that has a mean-spirited tone in a way. But sorry, we'll get to Starfield in like 6 years when I finally cover it on Patreon.
The rest of the run consists of my incredible shooting ability, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with by now, followed by some dialogue and powering up the USS Constitution. I also missed a jump to the circuit breaker a couple times at the end, but that's because I was just so done with this speedrun category because while it is a fun meme, it honestly sucks as a run because of the behavior of the robots. Some runs, they would just not help at all, and it was impossible to get a decent time, and sometimes the scavengers just wouldn't stop spawning. Overall though, the final time for this run is solid, but definitely beatable. That being said, I do not recommend anyone to try out this category. If you're interested in trying out any Fallout 4 run, I would recommend either Any%, Glitchless, or Sex%, which is probably the easiest of any Fallout 4 run to learn. Oh, by the way, if you're new to the channel and are wondering what the heart is in the bottom left corner, that's my heart rate.
It feels... I don't know why.
Streams, I'll often wear a Garmin heart rate monitor.
Just talking about this so late, it feels like it feels intentional in a way. It feels like I'm being pranked. It feels like this is some avant-garde, like it feels like intentionally satirical. It really feels like I'm doing a bit.
That's connected to my computer wirelessly via an Ant Plus USB stick. This is so that you can see what parts of the run I'm getting most nervous during. Also, if you're watching this video before July 26, 2019, I just wanted to let you know that I'll be doing a Fallout 4 Any% run live that day at ESA, which, if you're unaware, is often described as the European version of GDQ. I'll be traveling to Sweden to be part of the event, which is raising monies for an Alzheimer's foundation that's based out of Europe.
Did I say monies?
Be part of the event, which is raising monies for an Alzheimer's foundation that's based out of Europe. As of today, my run is scheduled to be done on their second stream at twitch.tv/ESA Marathon 2 at 4:43 p.m. CST. If you'd like to view this schedule yourself closer to the date and see what time my run will actually be at the day of, you can head over to esamarathon.com/schedule and check it out for yourself. There was actually a recent reroute to Fallout 4 based on some new discoveries that save around 40 seconds throughout the run, and I don't think I'll have a video out about it by then, so that's the first time you'll be able to see the new route in action. That is, unless you've been watching me practice the route at twitch.tv/tomatoanus. All I'll say about it though is that cover sliding isn't a part of the route anymore. With that being said, I think this is where I'll stop rambling and let you enjoy my awful jumping abilities that are coming up shortly. I've been Tomatoanus, I appreciate you, and I hope you have an above average day.
Oh, that I appreciate you is new. Let me make sure that that is indeed... Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I hope you guys weren't hoping for any... There's nothing to retrospect over, since that ends there. I have thoughts on how that ended. It's very weird watching this video from 4.5 years ago talking about a charity event in 2019, talking about what time I'm going to be on what stream at what URL, where I've been streaming, twitch.tv/tomatoanus. Sorry, twitch.television/tomatoanus. Very interesting. Not sure. It immediately dates the video, which I don't like. I don't like dating my videos. Don't get me wrong, they're naturally going to be dated based on new strats being found, runs being done faster, etc. But this dates it in a different type of way. That's bad. To me, that it dates it. I need to shift my camera down, man. My head has been like in the bottom half of this the entire time. It dates it like immediately, which I'm not. I don't know. It's weird. It's my videos. I like to. It was probably around this time. It was probably right around this time, maybe a little bit before. I think it was probably right around this time. I started making a shift in how I thought about my videos. My favorite YouTube channel is Nando V Movies, and I've supported him on Patreon probably since around this time to today. Like 5 years, I've probably supported him on Patreon. Yeah, I started supporting him. I just went through and checked. I started supporting him on Patreon in 2019. And, it's just comfort videos for me. Whatever. But something that just stuck out to me, and I don't know why it took me so long to really, so many people do this. So many people do this. And it's what you should do, in my opinion. But focus on quality. You want your videos. I started thinking about my videos less as, and to this day, I try and remind myself this. I think about my videos less as, oh, I need this video to do well immediately. And I think about more trying to build a solid backlog or a solid, what's the word I'm thinking of? Catalog. I want my catalog of videos to be strong. I want them to be, if someone watches any one of my videos, they can check out any other of my videos and find something of a consistent quality. It's similar enough, but it's different to where it's a different video you want to watch. It's, different games, different categories, etc. So I always want it to be, I want them to be, there's a through line, but it's a consistent catalog. So if anyone were recommended any one of my videos and they like them, they know that they wouldn't know, but they can go to my channel and click on any other video and find something of a similar quality. It's all about building the catalog. It's all about treating every video with with that same level of attention and whatnot. And getting back to the original point, I think that this section here specifically is very antithetical to that. This plugging, I think it's fine. Just a one-off line, 2 lines. Hey, this is going to be at GDQ. I'm going to be doing this at GD. If you're watching this when it comes out, check out GDQ. That's starting up soon. Check out ESA that's starting up soon. I'm doing this run there, you know. Like I did in my my Starfield video, like someone you know might be helping commentate, because like, I was like, Hark is actually, you know, just gave a quick shout out to Hark for helping out with proof check in the video, and they're like, by the way, Hark's doing this run at GDQ. Someone you know might be helping with commentary. That's all you really need. You know, it doesn't really date the video. It's one line. It's not a minute and a half before then watching someone finish a speed run for 2 minutes. Which brings me to my next point. People come to these videos to see a speed run be explained. And the end of this video is, hey guys, so I'm just going to fight the guys now, and then I'm going to talk to the robots. And that's the speed run. So I guess here's 3 minutes of 3 minutes of gameplay. Here's 3 minutes of gameplay of me fighting a bunch of raiders, and then talking to an NPC while I talk about an event I'm coming up, and then it's just gonna be the gameplay. So enjoy. I don't want to watch that. I would turn off from that video immediately. I don't want to watch that at all. That sounds boring. So, you know, it, again, like I said, there's a time and a place and in moderation. And this was none of those. So, yeah, I think this video, looking back at it, when I watched that Fallout New Vegas video 2 months ago, I talked about how I really didn't like it. I did not remember how it was structured. I did not remember how focused on infinite dashing it was, to the detriment of everything else in the video. And like, it immediately skyrocketed to number 1 on my least favorite videos I've made tier list. Least favorite speedrun explains I've made tier list. Immediately skyrocketed to the top. This might be a close second now, because which in this video, to be honest, when I look at my catalog, when I look at my catalog and I look at all these videos and I think about the ones I'm not the biggest fan of, this was one that in my mind was like near the top. This to me is the video that feels like I've ran out of ideas. And I've always felt that way about it. I've always felt that way about this speedrun to be a pirate. It always felt like it didn't fit in some way. It feels like this was like the branching point. In one universe, I continue down this path. In the other universe, I make the switch I did. And I made the switch I did because I think, like I said earlier, I was starting to run out of Fallout speedrun ideas. And I'm like, I got to start to diversify, man. Wow, this video is almost at 1 million views. I'm going to have to message Seeker about that soon. It really, I don't know. It always felt like something where I was just like, it feels not a fan. And this kind of hammered it home, because when I think what we just watched, and I think about the contents of it, the run starts. I immediately am like, I explain the punch warp to the center of the map. Then I explain COC2. Then I explain how I sequence break the quest. And then there's a 2-minute stretch here in the middle where I think it's pretty solid. 2-minute stretch where I'm talking about like where I go inside the ship and I'm using the frag mine to go. It's like the stretch where I explain how I'm going to sequence break, and then it happens. Again, that was a bit drawn out. Then a brief segment. It's like a minute, if even, where I'm navigating the inside of the USS Constitution with the frag mines to go through the walls. And then the rest of the video, though, it's just a whole lot of nothing. What's that term? A whole lot of nothing burger? It's a big old nothing burger? Do people say that? Is that something people say? It just feels like that. It feels like it's a whole lot of nothing. Feels like there's really not a lot of substance here. It feels like it's the speed run with just a handful. I know that it's not this way, but it feels like it's just a speed run with like, it's a 14-minute speed run with 3 minutes of substance to say, and then the other 3 minutes when I was actually talking was just regurgitated info that I've talked about a lot before. Or I hadn't talked about before, and it's just entirely out of place. Video just does not feel very substantial, might be the right word, but substantive? I don't know. Maybe that's a word. There's just not much of substance in this video. And I think that's my big takeaway. I think that this video kind of hammered home and kind of steered me in this direction that I haven't really dabbled back into, of covering more meme runs. Because I'm not going to keep switching back and forth between the two views, but just looking at all the runs I've covered, the next meme run that I did was Speedrun to Eat a Baby. And the whole baby series, Speedrun to Eat a Baby, Get Pregnant, and Kidnap a Baby, Adopt a Baby, whatever. And then also Stardew Married Percent, which was a patron's choice. This video, I think, really kind of started to steer me away from covering more meme or niche categories, which, I think moving forward, that's something that I'm kind of thinking about, is like, what do I want to revisit any runs? Do I want to revisit any video games with different categories? Which, spoiler alert, there is a video game that I've covered on my channel that I covered with a runner who I was able to catch up with at GDQ and talk to about a video I want to make, a different category of the same run that they've been running. I want to make a video covering that, a different category of a game I've already covered. So like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of, this video alone kind of deterred me from revisiting runs, doing different categories, all that kind of stuff. And that's something I kind of want to get back into, I guess also sex percent runs I did one. Or I did the one in Fallout 4, then the one in Cyberpunk, but I don't know, it's I think there's a lot of potential there that's being missed out on. A lot of interesting runs. But at the same time, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into being like, like the pigeonhole I've tried to, and I feel like I have successfully broken out of. I didn't want to be pigeonholed as, oh, I'm the Fallout speedrunner. You go to my channel just for Fallout speedruns. I didn't want that. I didn't want my channel to be pigeonholed. I don't want my channel to be pigeonholed as like, oh, he started making a ton of From Software videos again. He's a Bethesda, an FPS guy, and a From Software guy. I don't want that. I want to expand more. I would love to cover more Nintendo games. It would be amazing. Be amazing to cover more Mario or Zelda or Metroid or Banjo or Ape Escape, baby. Even though that's not Nintendo. You guys get what I'm saying. But it's hard. It's really hard. Especially when this is a full-time thing. And I'm just rambling at this point. This has nothing to do with the video I just watched. I would love to have those broader horizons. But it's, I rely on this for income. So it's all about like, and also like I don't want to truly fuck over my channel by, and this is kind of where I started originally with it. You know, I started covering Doom and Dishonored and Prey. Like those are more similar, and just slowly start to expand the horizons more and more. And I feel like I've been doing that. You know, we did Hollow Knight. Video didn't do great, but hey, long term it has more views than or it has about as many views as I do subs. So I count that as a win. You know, I did Super Mario Odyssey, same thing. It did pretty solid, then it kind of fell off. But you know, long term it has almost 500,000 views. I did Tony Hawk Underground. That's the video people consistently have been coming to me and saying, "Hey, this is the best video you've ever made." So, you know, trying to get there. But I think this video specifically, I was starting to, you know, it scared me into my shell from doing stuff like that. But I think that's about all. I got some notes. I got around half a page of notes here about random things. This page. This is the back half of the New Vegas one. Some of these are shorter. Some are longer, you know. Glitchless speedrun of Fallout 4. I feel like I learned a lot from that. Speedrun to Sleep with Everyone in New Vegas. I feel like I learned a lot from those videos. These are all the notes I had. This is Glitchless speedrun of Fallout 4. This is Speedrun to Sleep with Everyone. Comparison. This is Pirate Run, you know. I feel like there's still a lot there. But anyway, as always, let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment on Patreon, YouTube, wherever. Let me know your thoughts. I love to hear at any point your guys' thoughts on anything I'm saying. I love hearing input you guys have because, like I said before, it's hard. Like I said before with the humor, which I guess I'll touch on that real quick. Yeah, the video didn't have many jokes. Had a couple. The toaster, the window one was good. I liked that. I thought that was a good one. And then the Haba one was good. Definitely lighter on the comedic side. But yeah, let me know what you think because it's hard to know. I only experience these videos from one perspective, and that is as the person who's making them. But I'm making them for people. I'm making them for an audience, you guys. So it's hard. It's hard for me to really separate myself from it. Anyway. I think that's all. That's enough ramblings for now. Thank you guys for your continued support. Thank you. Hope you guys have an above average day.